So here's what we're looking at. Pulling out the microscope. You can see we're kind of mangled in there. Yeah, this is not looking good for this guy. Yeah, this is pretty bad though. All right, Sony PlayStation 5. Let's go. Got an HDMI replacement here. Let's make sure our tools are magnetized. Hey, thanks for checking out this video. If you like these videos, make sure you hit the like button. If you want to see more videos like this, hit the subscribe button. It really, really helps the channel. We're going to 100% be trying to use my electric. So let me actually work on charging that because this is gonna be hitting a lot of screws. And if any of these ones that I have will work, yes, this one will. Perfect. So let's get that charged up. Set that off to the side. Keep getting these screws out. So this is gonna be fun. Hopefully there's nothing living in here. If there is, we're gonna have some problems. Well, yeah, that's what this is. This prevents screws from getting stripped. All right, now let's look under here. All right, now we got to do this. 1, 2, 3, and we got 4. Please no roaches. This was on here like that, so we're gonna set that like that. We'll clean this out before we put that back in there. All right, now we have 2 more screws up here. All right, yeah. There's a good chance I'm gonna be running into roaches on this. All right, so first things first, going to unhook that, that comes out. Got to be careful not to bend these. First we're gonna do the tear. All right. We'll go loosen all of these up to make removing them much easier. Like I said, I'm going to use an electric screwdriver for this so that I'm not giving myself carpal tunnel from just this one tiny little job. And then I always forget there are 3 back here. That one, that one, that one, that one. All these are going to go into this little area right over to my left. And then the other thing we need to make sure of once we get this thing back together, or as we're putting it back together, that all of the thermal pads get where they need to go. All right, so this, and I need to remember to plug that back in. I forgot to plug that back in last time. Oh, I hate these things sometimes. Come on. Thank you. So we just need to make sure everything lines up and then nothing falls off of that. Next. This is actually incredibly loose for some reason. Pretty sure I'm going to need to on this side. We got to remove these. 1 for the other side. 1, 2. Almost forgot. This clip that I like pretending doesn't exist. We'll clean that out as well. I mean, you can see already. This thing is not in great shape. So all the way over, gently. I don't know. There's so much stuff in here. And there's our liquid metal, which is, you can see it's got a huge dry spot right in the center. Look at that. That's definitely not what that should look like. Still, like, it still has some viscosity. We'll redo that here. So just briefly before I start working on getting this stuff desoldered and moved around. So let's take a quick look at what we're repairing here. And it is that. Let's see, it's definitely not in good shape. Okay. So first things first, I'm going to be removing that, and I'm definitely going to be using a different pair of tweezers for this. Because I am not going to run into a situation where I yeet it across my office. So let me grab some things here. I need that. I need this. Going to need these. Just absorbing some additional water that I put in here because I put in slightly too much. Let's whip out the pencil. Pencil plugged in to remove this guy. That, we got that. Got this. I need my new pair of tweezers, which are strangely missing. Got it. Start off with that. Now, I'm gonna see if I can find, I'm gonna probably put this right there. I don't see any other pads that are close that I do want to stick this thing to. I'll have to need to be careful of that filter right there. Maybe just do the same thing that I did last time and use one of these pads. Seemed to work out. Oh, come out of there. I just need the tip. All right. What I'm gonna do, what I usually do, gonna add to this. Just gonna go ahead and hit all of these with a soldering iron, just to, you know, wake them up. Now, let's give this thing a flip. We're going to use our little poles here. I'm going to use to increase the height of things to make this slightly easier. This HDMI port looks different than what I have. All right. Let's take a look here. This might be another situation where I'm ordering an HDMI replacement because the one I have is slightly different. And again, we have a bunch of tiny little components there we just got to be aware of. So, that in there. I was just touching it, so you got to be careful. I'm just going to leave this sit for a second. And we're going to do the same thing on this side. Move that stuff up to temperature. Grab the tweezers. You know what? Before we do this, that's a little too close. Let's let this cool down for a second. Get a look at this. Looks like we came off relatively clean. We're gonna flip it over, we're gonna take a look. And we're gonna work on cleaning this up. Gonna gently come along here. This board is extremely hot. Don't hold on to the board. We're just going to gently Now comes the real fun part, which is getting the high temp solder out of each of these holes. It's not. So, like, it's close. So when you're looking in here, you see how you can still, it doesn't, like, this one is clean. This one, yeah, that one's good to go. So look at the difference between this and this. You see how this has this little edge over here, and then this one has this space down here at the bottom. Got to make sure that stuff's actually cleaned up and out of the way, otherwise I'm gonna have a hell of a time getting it in there.
That's what she said.
Like, honestly though, it's probably not a problem at this point. There's probably enough clearance. I'm just being extra attentive to this. It doesn't like me cutting it. All right, back to the side. All right. Let's make sure everything's like it's gonna line up just fine. Let's get that out of there. All right, we're gonna use the pencil for this. What we're doing is we're just going to get solder on all of these points, including those. Make sure we don't have any bridges. And then I need to get that off of there, whatever that is. When I get that out of there, it looks like just a piece of my wick, or my solder wick is stuck there. I don't think this thing's got enough heat for this. Does not. So we're gonna add a little bit of flux. Grab our pencil here, and we're going to let's see how close we are. Damn it. Burnt the connector. This is just a super awkward angle right here. I keep hitting them again because they're not vertically making the connection that I need them to make. So, like, while the HDMI port is as low as I can physically get it on the board, the pins aren't always, so this is kind of what they look like. This being the foot, this being what's going up. They aren't always a 90 degrees. Sometimes the pins are just slightly like this. So by pushing them down into the solder and then lifting my iron, it causes it to cool quick enough that as it's trying to bend itself back up, it freezes in there because the soldering, the actual solder is set. So, and that's why I'm double checking to make sure they're all connected. Now that I know they're all connected, can flip this over. So now let's flip this back over. We're gonna flood those solder, the actual joints, so that it holds in place. And then we need to move that little filter. It's solder in these legs. Ah, bonjour, bonjour, French hello. All right, let's do it. This is the hardest part of this whole job. Those two little pads right there. Basically, the reason they did it is because they didn't want to have to run a trace. See, theoretically, they could have run this trace farther back and then looped it in, but they didn't want to. And they also didn't want people fixing this. So I need to add a little bit more solder to the tip of my iron here. I said to the tip, not the side. All right, that's better. All right, where are we? We're all the way over there. I need to come to here. Yeah, come on. Yeah, I know that feeling. Like I've done a couple TVs where replace the main boards, and like as close as they put stuff is just crazy to me. All right, I need my other pair of tweezers. I'm gonna try and do this. Just need to get that to sit in just like that. Let go of that. Come on, get off of there. Yeah, it's a capacitor. But it's technically it is a noise filter, but it is yeah, it's just a capacitor. I'm gonna show it like this. The scale of this. Yeah, the scale of this is hard to understand. So I'm going to place something to give you an idea of how small this is right next to it. So that is one of my hairs. That's how small this is. So that should give you a sense of how tiny this component is. So I do something a lot of that other people don't do, which is I move it because I don't want to deal with having to find it if it were to hit the ground or like leave my soldering mat. Come on, almost there. That's good. That's good. All right. That should. We're gonna look at it from an angle. I think we Gucci, fam. This is one of those things where, like, I can get a little bit closer. Let's see if I can. I'm gonna get as close as I physically can with this thing, and to be able to see this. Yeah, I think we're good. Definitely don't have hands of the sub-surgeon. Just, like, I know how delicate that is, so I make sure I give it a lot of gentleness. All right. So that's back on there. Yeah, so what I do when I first start working on this is I take that component from here, and there is a group of pads over here on every PS5 board that is not used for anything. I'm sure it's at one point it was going to be, but it never was actually filled. So and it is definitely for a surface mounted component. So all I do is I just add a little solder to it, and then once I add the solder to it, I drop that capacitor right here, and you know, it's always there. So if someone ever comes into these boards after me and is like, oh, why is there one random silver pad over there? That's why. Yeah. And that's the only component across almost every repair that I do that with. Just because it is insanely small. So like, even like, can you imagine losing this right here? Because that's smaller than that. All right, so now our HDMI port's in there. It's solid. I can lift the board by it. It's not factory solid, just because nothing is ever as solid as the stuff that Sony decides to put in here. So last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna hit this one more time. We're gonna put some flux on this, and then we're gonna just let the solder just liquefy one last time, and then we're gonna hit everything with isopropyl, and we're gonna get out of here. So because this is the other thing, this one here is another one, but it's generally far enough away that it's not a problem. All right, now, like I said, we're going to do arguably the most aggravating part of this isn't pulling out the HDMI port. It isn't doing that little capacitor that's behind it. The liquid metal. I'm going to try and move it around and get it get cleaned up here. Yep, liquid metal, man. So, as you can see on this side of the board, there's also some. When this thing gets smooshed back together here in a second, it will create a nice bubble of liquid metal that's spread across the whole little CPU plate there. It's not as convenient as thermal paste. I personally want to start replacing these with, instead of a liquid metal pad, with a those dual state thermal pads. Let's see how those work. From what I understand, those work pretty well as well. If you look, the way this thing applies pressure is very uneven. All of the liquid metal is on one side versus the other side, and that's just because that's how gravity works. Well, let's get this thing back over. We didn't lose any pads on the way out. Got that. And now, as we screw this thing together with these clamps and stuff, in theory it should give it enough. This thing generates a lot of heat. Let's get this cleaned out, and as we get all these screws in here, it's going to apply even pressure, allowing this to make good thermal conductivity with that liquid metal, and then we'll kind of go from there, see what happens. There we go. So we got it working. Look, I know I'm not anyone's father, mother, brother, whatever, but don't smoke around electronics. Don't smoke in your house. You might not think you're doing that much damage, but look at this. This is a 1-year-old PlayStation 5. If it's doing this to plastic, what do you think it's doing to your lungs, to your body? And this person is a kid, like a very young child. So yeah, just keep this in mind. Hey, thanks for watching that video. If you liked that video, make sure you hit the like button. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure you hit the subscribe button. And I stream daily on Twitch at twitch.tv/SpecVengeance. And yeah, if you want to learn more about my services, check out Bradenton PC Repair.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.